what is good for the consumer is good for the archery industry.
Hey, welcome back to Archery Universe. Today we're headed up to Sanford, Florida to see Dirk Nebergall. He's a friend of mine. He's been working for a few years on something that's going to truly change or revolutionize the crossbow industry. Very seldom do we see something come along that isn't just, something small. The concept he has is going to be kind of like the single cam or parallel limbs were to archery. It took a few years, but once it took off, it ended up completely changing the industry. And that's really what's going to happen with his idea. I've seen it. I've shot it. We're not going to see it today, but we're going to meet with him and talk about it. And over the next few months, we're probably going to get to see it. And we're going to do some test shooting with it. And we're going to do some hunts and try to kill some animals with it. So come on along with us. You're going to meet a guy that's truly a genius and one of the few guys I've met in the archery that has the ability to think outside the box.
Work for a county firm, and they did their books, and they were getting old, and they just wanted to quit. So they were going to buy.
All right, so we made it to Sanford, nice and safe. Had a good breakfast at Cracker Barrel with Dirk here. So we're going to talk a little bit about what Dirk's got coming. I really think it's going to change the crossbow industry. But Dirk, first tell us a little about yourself and kind of how you ended up where we're at today.
All right.
Well,
first of all,
first.
it's good to see you, and I'm so glad that we were able to get together. Well, we go back a ways.
Yeah,
I never will forget. When I first had my patents initiated for my new crossbow and vertical bow technology, I called you. At the time, you were with Ben Pearson Archery, and man, we just struck it off well.
Yeah, we did.
I don't know if I sent you a video or a picture.
You did, yeah. That first video I think was of your son shooting a welded together riser in the backyard of your house or something like that. So.
Yeah. So anyway, we had a great conversation, and you seemed to be kind of intrigued with what we had, and I promised you that I'd come over sometime, which we did ultimately later on. But yeah, so those were the early days when I first started with this endeavor. I actually built the bow in my engine shop. I used to do race car motors for some of the guys, and had a dynamometer in the shop, and was mostly focused on racing automotive engines. And so in the time that I had extra, being an avid bow hunter and enjoying that part of it, pretty passionate about that, I'm always a tinker. I gotta always look at something.
Gotta make it better.
Gotta see if I can. So I think I remember watching a video on Realtree Outdoors or something, and seeing Michael Waddell in slow motion drawn back on a deer, and I was watching, and I saw the limb. The very end of the limb was the only thing that was moving. This was before the parallel limbs even.
Yeah.
And I thought, dang, that's a lot of limb for only using that much of it. So my mind immediately went to a rocker arm engine type thing in that scenario, and I thought, why they don't do that,
Yeah.
Because you can't break them. So anyway, long and short of that is, it just got my juices flowing. So after hours at the shop, I started putting together a piece, and it was pretty crude. I think you remember. But we built a bow, a vertical bow, and in my mind I thought, man, if this thing is quiet and it shoots anyways near close to what present day bows are, the advantages are huge. So I set off to do that. And anyway, what you saw was a result of it, and my first attempt turned out to be pretty good.
Your first attempt was beyond pretty good, and that's been a while ago. So, you know, kind of for me, I hate just taking this long to get to where you're at, just because of the circumstances. But
Sure.
a lot of people don't realize how long something takes to bring to market anyway. But you know, the thing that stands out to me with that first bow was it was an old Pro Line riser with some rocker arms basically welded on the end of it.
Yeah.
But it was unquestionably the smoothest, quietest bow I'd ever shot. And I've shot a lot of bows.
Yeah, I know you have.
And so that's been a long time ago.
Yeah, it was.
And so fortunately I've been around for a few generations now that you've played with what we have between us, and have shot a couple of those, and I have to say that that's the same thing. It really stands out there to me. And so there's some other reasons, and I'm going to let you talk about why we would want this in today's crossbow market. But for me, I really think the biggest thing to the consumer, to that end user, aside from reliability, is going to be the noise,
Right.
and how smooth it is. I'm telling you, it's just going to blow people's minds when they pull the trigger on this thing and it doesn't move, it doesn't vibrate, and it doesn't sound like you dry fired a bow.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I think we talked before about some of the icons in the industry, and some of them that I have had some communications with, and they shoot them, and you get that look like, what just happened? It's amazing. There's no grip shock. One of the things that I made sure of maintained parallel. So our limbs go apart, just 100%. The arc is in the center of the parallel. So that, and the fact that you don't have a long laminated limb that is sets up a frequency vibration that is transferred to the limb, and that is what makes the noise. So our bow, essentially, the only sound you have is the string whipping through the air. What is good for the consumer is good for the archery industry. When people buy a $800, $1,000 bow and it's fragile, and they mess up and dry fire it, or something else happens and they have failure, it doesn't take too long for them to decide that's not for them, you know, maybe not good, you know. So the thing that I love about what we can do is the limb failure is virtually eliminated.
You mentioned that failure rate, or that a bow being fragile, and so a lot of people don't realize just how much failure rate there is in crossbow limbs, right? I mean, now that you've been exploring that industry or that side of things for a few years, what's kind of been your experience, or what have you heard from that side about that kind of stuff?
Well, it's been interesting. So the fix for broken limbs is using a heavier projectile, heavier arrow that'll cushion that and get rid of that. With us, we can use a lightweight arrow because you can dry fire a bow. It doesn't have that problem.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a totally different way of looking at it. You know, we all get tunnel vision, and we have to have this grain arrow, and we have to have that, and it has to do that. But our approach is, they don't make parachutes out of canvas anymore.
Right.
You can still buy wooden arrows, but nobody uses them. You know, wheels are made out of rubber, and tires and rubber, so it's a different world. And I totally appreciate traditionalists and their style. You know, they just want a straight bow.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Well, I think it's important, and I tell people all the time, equating to archery universe, is if it's got a string and an arrow, I like it. I don't care if it's a stick bow or a crossbow.
You are that way.
If it's got a string and an arrow, I'm all about it. So,
yeah.
You're not going to take one tool and fit everybody.
Right.
You're going to have the guy that wants to be a traditionalist and wants to shoot a stick bow or a recurve, and then you're going to have a guy that maybe can't shoot a bow at all anymore because of shoulder injuries or something like that, or like some of us maybe getting a little older.
Some of
us. That's right. So maybe at that point, somebody's got to shoot a crossbow, or maybe I've seen guys that decided they wanted to try archery. There were gun hunters that bought crossbows, and then within a couple of years were shooting vertical bows.
Yeah, which I love that.
Yeah. Right, so it goes both ways.
Absolutely.
But I think, bringing something to the market, what's totally impressed me so much about your product
is that it is gonna, I was always, the thing I didn't like about crossbows was how loud they were and how much vibration they had. And so when we equate those to a vertical compound bow, they're really not a lot more energy, without getting really heavy in draw weight.
True.
And then when you compare the amount of noise that they have to today's vertical bows, it's just not worth it a lot of times.
Yeah, I agree.
But now then we have something that's maybe as quiet or quieter than some of today's vertical bows, and yet shooting, we won't even claim speeds right now, but
yeah.
But let's just say we're shooting fast enough that we're generating 140 foot-pounds of kinetic energy.
Right.
So we can shoot any whitetail in North America anyway, and elk too if we wanted to. So with something that you can put in somebody's hand, they can aim it and shoot it and not have to draw a bow back, and yet it's as quiet as some of the $1,700 or $1,800 compounds out there today.
We can do something that hasn't been able to be done before because of the limb limitation. Now we can exploit that, and for some people, older guys, they are trained into a specific thought about arrow weights and stuff, and it's hard for them to break that cycle. I get it.
Right.
But like I said, it's time for us to realize that the world's changing.
That's
It
right.
doesn't mean we can't still do the old things, but I don't think there's anything wrong with making something better. If we can eliminate hundreds of dollars worth of bow failures, and the retailers are killed by this.
Well, it could even be more than hundreds of dollars, because if you think about it, if you're in Colorado on an elk hunt and you have a limb failure, what are you going to do?
Great example.
So this is going to be a system that the average guy with a little bit of, say, a YouTube video education might be able to change his strings and cables and stuff at home.
You could do it in your tree stand.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that sounds a little crazy, but I didn't. That just sort of happened.
That was a side effect of it.
Thank you. Exactly what it was. It wasn't that when I started doing this thing and I started getting results and I started seeing this thing was for real, all of a sudden these things presented themselves. Like, whoa, we don't have to do this anymore. We can do that. If you want to change your cams or you want to change the string or the cable, you don't have to send it off. You can do it yourself in your backpack right there. Do it in your tree stand, for crying out loud. So to me, that's big, because I physically have had a string break in the woods and I'm done for the day.
Oh yeah.
And what you said is true. If you spent thousands of dollars on an elk hunt out west, try getting a new bow overnight.
Well, in today's day and age, in custom strings, the way we are now, so many different models of bows, sometimes you're 2 or 3 weeks just to get a new string.
Yeah.
Or more, let alone you got a problem with a bow. So, being able to take a spare string with you on your hunt, and if you had some kind of issue like that, be able to repair it right there, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. So where our things fasten and go together, there's a dead stop place. It's not a guess. It's not like, well.
So it's not like I'm going to put it together and have to adjust it and change it. I'm going to be able to put it together and it's going to be a set spot where it goes.
It's
easy
there.
to figure out.
Yeah. So we want to eliminate all that. So the big focus of ours is to make that not just commercially something we say you can do, but you can do it. It's easy. The limited exposure that it's had, anybody that has been around for a long time, major companies, engineers, the younger guys usually just flip. They're like, oh my God, man, are they going to do it? Is the boss going to let us do this? They're like, yeah, we like this, No.
I think, that goes back to what the consumer generally thinks about the industry, or what they know or don't know about the industry. Is when you have a product like this, it's typically, even if a company commits 100% wholeheartedly to it, it's a few years from coming to bringing something like that to market. So a lot of those companies, like we've had this conversation before, they're already a few years into technology, and then you come along with this, and they're like, oh, we love it. What are we going to do about that $1.5 million we've already invested in XYZ over here?
It's going to go in the trash can.
That's right.
And they have to throw away a lot of money that they've paid well-deserved engineers and time. Not only do they got to do that, which is a hard pill to swallow, but now they have to start again with what you bring them and say, we've got to take another 18 months or 2 years and develop this thing to get it ready for the market.
Right. So basically, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I'm hearing and seeing is that you've kind of backed up and you're really preparing to bring this to market yourself. So
that's right.
So because of those delays and that dilemma is bring this to market yourself. Not to say that nobody else will ever have it, but for now is you're preparing to make it consumer ready.
Yes.
And bring it to market and put it in the hand of a bow hunter that wants to go shoot a deer or an elk or shoot a tournament, whatever the case might be with a crossbow. But you're going to prepare to bring that to market. So
throughout this whole process, of course, I've learned I wasn't a business production guy. I was somebody else, but I'm so passionate about it and I believe in it so much that I'm not going to let it go. It's going to happen, and it is happening. We're right at the cusp of having the product ready. We've got a couple of little tweaks we got to do. We've had a little bit of problem with supply, with all same thing everybody else has, but we're real close, and we want to. We're going to bring it to the market because if we're not going to sell, 50,000 bows, but we're going to do it in a humble way and make sure that everything we do is right.
Yeah. Well, I told you this before outside of here, but I want to say it for people to see. I've been shooting a bow since I was 8. I've been doing archery for a living since I was 20 years old. Yeah, 20 years old. I'm 52 now, so that's 32 years. And in that time frame, I've seen a couple of things come along. So the single cam truly changed the face of archery. Even the dual feed systems we see today really were an instrument of the single cam coming along. The single cam, the dual feed single cam, which is what Matt McPherson Pat did, was a dual feed from that cam, and that in itself, somebody trying to take 2 single cams and put on a bow is what led to today's technology. A lot of people may not know that,
right?
But that single cam was what led to literally a change in the face of archery. And the other thing was parallel limbs. Parallel limb technology started way back, and it's gradually gotten more and more, and it literally now you see it across the industry.
Yeah.
So those are 2 things in 32 years that I've seen completely change the face of archery.
Yeah.
Not many things come along like that. Personally, and I've told you this over and over, and that's why I believe so wholeheartedly, I believe your concept is going to change the face of archery. I don't know, honestly, that it'll change vertical bows 100%, because some people just are going to want that traditional look.
Right.
But I do believe it's going to change the crossbow industry. I think 15 years from now, I'm going to be looking at the crossbow industry, and your technology is going to be all over, and I'm going to say, yeah, I knew that guy. I remember that bow. So,
yeah.
So that's my belief, and it's a matter of getting it to the public, but I think that's coming.
Yeah, it is. It's coming, and we're real close. I've been fortunate enough to have made a lot of friends in the industry. I've never burned any bridges. Business is persnickety. Sometimes it's not what we ethically and morally like, but it's what it is. So we deal with it, Unfortunately,
the archery industry falls into a lot of other things too. Like a lot of other things is that we have big investment groups now that own archery companies, and they might even own a bow company and a crossbow company and 15 accessory companies, even that compete against each other.
Yes.
So for those guys running that investment group, they don't know anything about our crossbow. They don't know anything about the fact that we love archery and want to kill deer. All they get to read is the dollar signs, and if they've already got that invested in something else, and so it does. In today's market, that makes it really hard to license something or bring something else. So I really think you're headed about it the right way. But
it's frustrating, because the underlings, the main group, I should say, the young engineers that look at this stuff and they're like you and me, we're, oh man, that's cool, but there's more to business, and there's there's a lot of things that come into play, so it makes it a little bit more difficult. So I'm gonna free them of that burden.
That's right.
I'm gonna bring it myself, and I'm gonna do it, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited about it. I can't wait to get some of them. I want to get out there in the woods and start using it, and that's kind of where we're at. We're going to soon be doing that part of the thing where field testing and experience.
Well, that's the part that I'm excited about.
Yeah.
Since I'm only maybe 6 hours from you.
Oh yeah.
When you get this first one ready for us to hunt, I'm ready to go shoot some pigs or something.
So we're gonna have.
We want to have it on the show, and we want to bring it to the public and let them see just how well it works in a hunting situation too. So
yeah, I'm super looking forward to that. So, and then down the road, I think we've discussed before, my vertical bow is still a passion with me. I understand crossbows, I get it, and the market was just red hot for a while with all the states accepting crossbows. So I don't know. At a certain point, I was conditioned to move into that.
I think it made sense to bring this first, and then in time is bring that vertical bow.
Yeah.
And I understand your passion. Obviously, I shoot vertical bows and I enjoy them more than I do a crossbow, but I'm not prejudiced. Anything that's got a string and shoots an arrow, I'm going to shoot it. But I do like my vertical bows. So the fact that I shot that original one, and I knew how well it shot, I'm looking forward to killing one of those too.
Yeah, it's cool. It's going to be really cool.
So one of the things one of the benefits, kind of that side thing like we were talking about of that vertical bow is a guy could buy one of those bows, and then there's changes he could do to change that from a 70-pound bow to maybe a 30-pound bow if he wanted. And so now he's got a bow fishing bow and an elk hunting bow all in the same bow, right?
Yeah. In fact, that's the thing that my son, he's more excited about that. You know, it's like, and you know, you've heard me say before, you're a fisherman, right? You got a tackle box, you got worms, spinner baits, jigs, you got all this stuff, you got way too much stuff, right? But having a bow that you can work on the tailgate of your truck,
right?
If you wanted to put cams on it that are super aggressive and you're looking for draw weight and arrow speed to kill an elk, you could do that. But if you wanted a whitetail hunt in the afternoon, you could literally change all of that stuff.
Right.
You can change the draw weight. You can change everything if you really want to.
Yeah.
You can even have modular limbs so that you can shorten the axle centers in a package.
Right.
You're going to be able to do this.
So
and
there's
do
a
that.
lot of changes they can do. But I guess when a lot of people see today's bows, there are some entry-level bows that will go from 15 to 70. We're not just talking about turning a bolt and adjust it.
Right.
We're talking about a change that the bow won't lose performance. It'll still have the same efficiency performance-wise as it does at 70 pounds. You can back it down. You can change it to 30, I should say, because it's not about backing it down. It's about making a change on the equipment that'll make it a 30-pound peak weight. So now the bow still has this efficiency that it would have had at 70. So there's a huge difference in the way.
It's big time.
It's not like taking a bow with fiberglass limbs and backing from 70 down to 30 and trying to bow fish, because now you got a bow that's not efficient anymore.
That's exactly right. And it's one of those things that fell on our lap.
Right.
I wasn't thinking about those kind of things when I started, but the further I got into it, the more I thought, whoa, wait a minute. This offers an opportunity for this. And all of that stuff kept mounting up, and I'm like, whoa, you know, this is good, you know? And when I say good, I'm not talking about good for me. I'm talking about, as a consumer, I hunt too.
Right.
What would be wrong with that? You
Yeah.
know, I literally showed my father-in-law this thing a few years back. Went to his yard. He shoots a little. Had a target. I shot it at 65 pounds, the vertical bow, and then I handed it to my daughter, and I turned so many turns out on both knobs. They were actually knobbed, and it was on 35 pounds. This was literally seconds later.
Yeah.
And she shot at that target just like that, and the bow efficiencies were the same. That was a really crude model, so I'm super excited about what we can do with resources, you know, to where we can polish it and make it right and get it ready for. That's going to be quite an endeavor, you know. But right now we're on our way to the dealership with our deposit. We're getting ready to hit the industry with the crossbow. That's going to be a really big deal, and I'm super excited for it.
So we won't even begin to speculate on time frame, but basically as soon as you can, we're going to be doing another video where we'll get out and shoot this thing, and we're going to bring it to the public, and we're going to, at the end of it, we'll be able to put a link where they can go to and buy it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We want to make it easy for people to do.
Right. So we want to make it easy to shoot, and we also want to make it easy for them to get it, right?
Yeah, sure. Ours is so simple. It's pretty fail-proof. So
I'm
that's
a
pretty
big
cool.
fan of KISS. Keep it simple, stupid.
Oh,
So,
absolutely. And like I said, I'm not a genius with that. It fell into my lap that way. It just
you know, we can talk about that, and we can say it was a gift from God, but God gave you your thought process, and I'm gonna tell you, folks, I've been like I said, I've been in archery since I was 8. I've been doing it for a living since I was 20, and I've worked in design and testing and stuff like that. And we've talked about, told you this for a long time, is I think in a box. And if you look across the industry, you'll see engineers and you'll see their bows for years have similar lines and shapes, because that's that person's ideas. And this, even though he may have technology and it improves and bows get better, you still can a lot of times look at a bow and tell which engineer designed it.
Yeah.
And so for me, I've got that box that I'm in, and you see the bows I've worked on, they have very similar lines over the years. But Dirk, you think outside the box.
Yeah.
So I can tell you, if anything, never stop thinking outside that box.
Well, I appreciate that. It's in me to do that. I've told you many times, I don't get too caught up in publications and what's going here and what's going there, because I like the water to be clear. I don't like to muddy up the water. I'm pretty focused on and I've already proven that it works and that it's a very viable type thing. So we're mainly focused on just making it right, you know, and that's the main thing right now. So I don't need to be looking at other technology.
No,
I just need to be making this one right.
Yeah, we need to get this one ready, because it's going to be awesome. So, you know, so folks, I'm glad you got a chance to meet Dirk. I'm telling you that he thinks outside the box, and whether he gives himself credit for it or not, he is a genius. So I love what he's got and what he's going to bring to market. And hopefully we'll be one of the first ones to go put an arrow through an animal with it. So,
well, you deserve that, right? You've been with me through thick and thin and give me a lot of moral support, and I know you're a good guy, and we do things for the right reason, you know?
Yeah.
So I love it. I'm excited. I can't wait to shoot one of those piggies first. We'll probably go to Georgia and shoot a couple of those piggies. They're eating up everything up there.
That sounds like a plan to me. So hang in there. Come watch us next time. As soon as we have this thing available, we're going to be posting links everywhere. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram. We'll have probably some Twitter accounts, TikTok, everywhere you can find. We're going to be spreading word about this thing. So y'all hang in there. God bless. Shoot straight, and we'll see you next time.